Social stratification, or dividing society into groups of arranged hierarchies, represented very well within the game Spent. Spent shows how your personal life and where you stand in social stratification is compared to the working class. The game Spent is accurate in representing the experience of the working poor, from the high prices of utility bills, having to hit and run, and picking between making money or your child. We know these are common occurrences the working poor face daily and impact that has on our overall health. Within the course media, we see a real example of this, how the most prominent corporations are tailored towards producing our basic needs, that they are uninterested in trying to fulfill spiritual appetites, which can ultimately lead us into a spiral and impact our physical and mental health. I got to witness this firsthand when I had the opportunity to attend a mission trip to Memphis, Tennessee. The homeowners shared their experiences and how it impacted their mental and physical health and deciding between tough decisions. One of the first choices you had to decide upon was what healthcare coverage you would want for yourself as the state paid for your child. In the course media, we are told that the fact while there is government aid, it's limited and there's gaps in coverage, meaning not all of your family will be covered by the government. Sometimes it's only your children. Within the game Spent, I was surprised by how hard it was to provide your child with the best life possible, whether that be in social and educational activities or having to choose to neglect your child to provide basic needs for the both of you. This shocked me as I've been blessed as a mixed race, non-disabled woman in an upper class family. Fortunately, I've never had to worry about my parents being unable to provide me with what I needed for school or sports, let alone necessities. I assume most kids never had to worry about that. Dr. Hernandez explains this as the just world frame, where people believe the world is orderly and fair. When playing the game Spent, I realized there was no option other than an apartment to live in. I think the option to live in a homeless shelter instead of paying rent for that month could have been beneficial. I think there was no option to live in a homeless shelter because oftentimes homeless shelters only allow for short-term stays. Also, homeless shelters are not the safest environments to raise kids and do not provide positive influences. We learned in the course media that it's quoted that in places where poor people have more rich friends, outcomes are better. This may be why the game was not designed to have the option of a homeless shelter. We can see how race and ethnicity and or family background could have modified the outcome of the game through the impressions management, or how we control impressions we make on others so that they form a desired view of us in the situation at hand. Most of these characteristics are unchangeable though. For example, race, ethnicity, or family background. In a world where we are trying to fit into social norms or beliefs that a society has accepted as normal, natural, right, and good, the characteristics I mentioned previously that we cannot change about ourselves can ultimately rank us differently on the hierarchy pyramid, limiting us to specific job opportunities. One form of capital I witnessed was going to a loan shark or a money lender who charges high interest rates. While this may seem like a good idea for the short term, it's not. As we learn in the course media, there are hidden costs that make poor people poor. If you didn't have the background knowledge on the loan sharks, you may have never known the hidden fees and high interest rates that come from places like these. So while this may have been advantageous in the beginning, it could have been very disadvantageous in the end, having to pay back more money.
Taylor, I scored a 55, and I'm a straight, white, able-bodied Christian woman.
My name is Ashley. I'm a white, straight Christian female, and I scored a 64.
It was really accurate. I think they have to make a lot of tough decisions.
It's pretty accurate also because like a flat tire or like getting in a car crash can just be unexpected.
The bills that I had to pay really surprised me because I don't pay any bills right now.
Yeah, for me in my game, my lady she joined a labor union and then she got fired for it, but that's illegal. So
certain options didn't seem practical to me. Like I had one that offered me to smoke and I would never do that, but I can see how other people would do that not in the game.
I disagree with not having options to do like side jobs like deliveries and like Uber because
It was designed this way because many people choose this as a real life option. I just don't know why anybody would choose to have an extra expense in a game.
Yeah, for my example, she didn't have any side jobs, but that's pretty realistic because you don't have a lot of time and money to do that.
I think depending on your race, how much money your parents have, the connections that you have, that can all make everything really different. If you have biased employers, that can make things really harder. If you have family connections, that can make things way easier.
Yeah, I think coming from a minority in your background can make it really difficult to get the same opportunities as others.
Contagious is having some social capital and knowing people that could give me a job or loan me money, something like that. And then I think something that would be disadvantageous would be something like cultural capital coming from the poorer standpoint where I can't hold myself to the same level of status.
An advantage would be come from a family with like inheritance or someone who would help you, and then a disadvantage would be coming with family loan.
Both my interviews interviewees explained how they felt that the overall game portrayed an accurate depiction of the working class, similar to how I felt. Both of my interviewees shared similar answers to this question, stating how tough decisions in unpredictable circumstances, like a flat tire, accurately depict real life. This was similar to my answer where I mentioned the hit and run example and how you have to make tough decisions in life to be able to provide for your loved ones. My interviewees had different answers to this question, with one being similar to mine. My first interviewee stated how paying bills caused a great deal of stress and worry, and she wasn't used to that. This is similar to how I stated that growing up, I never had to stress about my parents being unable to afford necessities for me. Therefore, my first interviewee would have fallen into the just world frame of thinking. My second interviewee brought up an interesting topic. She got fired for joining a labor union in her version of the game. The boss in her game controlled the power, or the ability to control events, resources, or others, even if it's against their own will. Firing someone in the U.S. over forming a labor union is illegal, so this was a great representation of how power can be used in a negative way, which we see in the course media. Rich and poor people seek to understand each other. When the white wealthy man quotes, "I have an obsession with power, and money is power." My interviewees had similar opinions on how the game lacked specific options or made unrealistic options, like smoking or being unable to have side jobs. This ultimately relates to my answer where I stated how there should have been an option to live in a homeless shelter. We all agreed that options in the games could have been added or improved. However, our answers varied when it came to the game and how it was designed. My first interviewee expressed that she thought the action of smoking was designed to show how it would be a good choice in real life, but not an intelligent choice in the game, which you're currently trying to save money in. In contrast, my other interviewee expressed how time itself is currency, and it would be unrealistic to have unlimited time to have a second job. My interviewees expressed the importance of how race and of being of a minority group could ultimately limit your chances of landing a job. These answers ultimately relate to my answer of cultural capital, or how well you fit into a culture, can ultimately impact your chances of getting a job and making money. Both my interviewees expressed the importance of inheritance or savings, or how ultimately this would be helpful and give you a hand financially in times of struggle. One of my interviewees talked about the disadvantage of being unable to hold yourself to the same status level, mentioned the word cultural capital, which connected to my answer to the previous question. It was also interesting to see how my other interviewee mentioned the debt would be disadvantageous, which relates to my answer on loan sharks.